in the Shade of the Qur'an by Sayyid Qutb, translated by M.A. Salahi and A.A. Shamis. Surah 98, Surah Bayyinah, the clear proof.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين منفكين حتى تأتيهم البينة رسول من الله يتلو صحفا مطهرة فيها كتب قيمة وما تفرق الذين أوتوا الكتاب إلا من بعد ما جاءتهم البينة وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين حنفاء ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة وذلك دين القيمة إن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين في نار جهنم خالدين فيها أولئك هم شر البرية إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك هم خير البرية جزاؤهم عند ربهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه ذلك لمن خشي ربه
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Those who disbelieve among the people of the earlier revelations and the polytheists who have never departed until there had come to them the clear proof. A messenger from Allah reciting purified pages containing books of high value and importance. Nor were the people of the earlier revelations divided until the clear proof had been given to them. Yet they are ordered to do nothing more than to serve Allah, to worship Him alone with sincerity and with purity of faith, to attend to their prayers and to pay the purifying alms. That is surely the faith of the upright nation. Those who disbelieve among the people of the earlier revelations and the polytheists shall burn forever in the fire of hell. They are the worst of all creatures. But those who believe and do righteous deeds are the best of all creatures. Their Lord will reward them with the Garden of Eden, underneath which rivers flow, where they shall dwell forever. Allah is well pleased with them, and they with Him. This is the reward of the God-fearing. As stated in our copies of the Qur'an, and according to the greater number of reports, this surah is a Medinan revelation. There are, however, some reports which classify it as Meccan, although its classification as Medinan carries more weight in view of these reports and its mode of expression and style. Yet the possibility of its being Meccan cannot be ruled out. The fact that it mentions the purifying alms, that is, the zakat, and the people of earlier revelation is not clear-cut argument against the Meccan possibility. Some surah which are indisputably Meccan mention the people of earlier revelation. Also, there are some of these people in Mecca. Some of them adopted Islam and some did not. Moreover, the Christian from Najran came to the Prophet when he was still in Mecca, and they accepted the Islamic faith as it is known. Moreover, zakat, or the purifying alms, is mentioned in some Meccan surah. This surah deals in a positive manner with a number of facts relating to history and faith. The first fact is that the sending of the messenger, Muhammad, peace be on him, was essential to the transformation of those of the people of the earlier revelations and the polytheists who had ended up in disbelief. They could not have departed from their erring ways without the help of this prophetic mission. Those who disbelieve among the people of the earlier revelations and the polytheists could have never departed from their erring ways until there had come to them the clear proof, a messenger from Allah reciting purified pages containing books of high value and importance. The second fact is that religious discord and conflict among the people of the earlier revelation did not arise out of their ignorance of or from any obscurity or ambiguity in their religion. On the contrary, they ran into discord after they had received true knowledge and the clear proof. Nor were the people of the earlier revelations divided until the clear proof had been given to them. The third fact is that, in regards to its origin, religion is one. Its fundamentals are simple and clear, and do not by themselves, by their plain and easy nature, make for divisions or conflict. Yet they are ordered to do nothing more than to serve Allah, to worship Him alone with sincerity and with purity of faith, to attend to their prayers and to pay the stated alms. That is surely the faith of the upright nation. The fourth fact is that those who disbelieve after receiving the clear proof are the worst creatures of all, while those who believe and do good deeds are the best creatures. Hence, the rewards of the two types are totally different. Those who disbelieve among the people of the earlier revelations and the polities shall burn forever in the fire of hell. They are the worst of all creatures. But those who believe and do righteous deeds are the best of all creatures. Their Lord will reward them with the gardens of Eden, underneath which rivers flow, where they shall dwell forever. Allah is well pleased with them, and they with him. This is the reward of the God-fearing. All these four facts are generally valuables for the full understanding of the role of the Islamic ideology, which is the final divine message, as well as for the formulation of one's concept of faith. Those who disbelieve among the people of the earlier revelations and the polities who have never departed from their erring ways until they had come to them the clear proof, a messenger from Allah reciting purified pages containing books of high value and importance. The world was terribly in need of a new message. Corruption had spread around the world and around the whole world to the extent that there was no hope of reform except by means of a new message, a new method of orientation, and a new movement. This belief crept into and became the characteristic of all creeds and doctrines, whether those of the people of earlier revelations, i.e. the Jews and the Christians, who previously knew the divine religions and distorted them, or those of the polities in the Arabian Peninsula and beyond, all alike. They were not to turn away from this disbelief into which they had sunk except by means of this new message and at the hands of a messenger would himself be a clear proof, distinctive and specific. A messenger from Allah reciting purified pages, that is, purified of all idolatry and disbelief, containing books of high values and importance. The term book is used for reference to the subject discussed, for example, book of purity, book of prayers, book of destiny, and book of resurrection. These pure pages are indeed the Qur'an, which contain valuable and important books. Hence, this message and the messenger came at a perfectly suitable time. The scriptures also came with all that they contain of books and facts to bring about a far-reaching reform of this world. As to how badly the world needed this message and messenger, we shall be content to indicate by quoting some inspiring remark from the valuable book written by the Muslim author Sayyid Abul Hasan al-Nadwi and entitled Islam and the World. This book is the clearest as well as the briefest that we have read on this subject. The author writes in chapter 1, the 6th century of the Christian era, it is generally agreed, represented the darkest phase in the history of our race. Humanity had reached the age of the precipice, towards which it had been tragically proceeding for centuries, and there appeared to be no agency or power in the whole world which could come to its rescue and save it from crashing into the abyss of destruction. In his melancholy progress from God-forgetfulness to self-forgetting, man had lost his moorings. He had grown indifferent to his destiny. The teaching of the prophets had been forgotten. The lamps that they had kindled either had been put out by the storms of moral anarchy, or the light they shed had become so feeble that it could illuminate the hearts of but a few men, most of whom had sought refuge in passivity and resignation. Having been vanquished in the battle between spiritualism and materialism, they had shut themselves up in monasteries or gone into wilderness. Such of them were still left in the whirlpool of life, had aligned themselves with the ruling classes of their land. They helped them in the satisfaction of their sensual desires, and in the maintenance of unjust political and economic systems, and cooperated with them in reaping unlawful benefits out of the wealth of the people. Great religions became playthings in the hands of debased ecclesiastics who corrupted and twisted them beyond recognition, so much so that if it were possible for their founders to return to the physical life, they could not have recognized them. In consequence of the moral debasement of the great centers of civilization and general disorder and unrest, people everywhere got entangled in their internal problem. They had no message to offer to the world. The world had become hollow from within. Its life springs had dried up. It possessed neither the light of religious guidance for their personal conduct, nor any abiding and rational principles for running a state. This outlines briefly the condition of mankind and religions just before the advent of Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him. The Quran refers in various parts to the aspect of this disbelief which spread among the people of the earlier revelation as well as the polytheists. Among these references to the Jews and Christians are the Jews say, Israel is the son of Allah, and the Christians say, the Messiah is the son of Allah. And the Jews say, the Christians follow nothing true, and the Christians say, the Jews follow nothing true. The Quran also refers to the Jews. The Jews have said, Allah's hand is fettered. Fettered are their hands, and cursed they are for what they say. His hands are outspread. He bestows as he wills. It says about the Christians, they are surely disbelievers who say Allah is the Messiah, son of Mary. And they are surely disbelievers who say Allah is one of a Trinity. The Quran also speaks about the polytheists. Say, disbelievers, I do not worship what you worship, nor do you worship what I worship. I shall never worship what you worship, neither will you worship what I worship. You have your own religion and I have mine. There are many of other statements in the Quran which support this view. Hence, in addition to this disbelief, there were backwardness, divisions, ruin, as well as other evil spreads all over the world. In short, there was no nation on earth with an upright thinking. There are neither a society built on a foundation of morality and virtue, nor a government based on justice and mercy, nor a leadership founded on knowledge and wisdom, nor a true religion that came through the prophets. Hence, the divine grace extended to mankind required that a messenger be sent from him, reciting purified scriptures containing valuable and important books. There was no way of putting an end to the widespread corruption except by the sending of this messenger, the deliverer, the guide, and himself, the clear proof. Having made this fact clear at the outset, the surah goes on to state that the people of the earlier revelations, in particular, did not experience religious conflicts and divisions as a result of ignorance on their part, or confusion or complication on the part of their religions. The divisions occurred after the true knowledge and the clear signs of their religion were delivered to them through the messenger sent to them. Nor were the people of the earlier revelations divided until the clear proof had been given to them. The first division was among the Jews, who split into sects and groups before the prophethood of Jesus. Although their prophet was Moses and the Torah was their book, they split up into 5 main sects, namely the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the Asians, the Extremists, and the Samaritans. Each had their own characteristic and their own ways. Later on, the division between the Jews and the Christians took place in spite of the fact that Jesus is the last prophet sent to the children of Israel. He came to endorse the Torah and confirm it. Nevertheless, the quarrel between the Jews and the Christians reached the level of violence, enmity, and wicked hatred. History tells us about the horrifying massacre that took place between the two parties. The mutual jealousy and hatred between the Christians and the Jews, which did not permit them to forego any opportunity of settling an old score, was brought to its climate towards the close of the 6th century. In 610 AD, the Jews of Antioch rebelled against the Christians, and the Emperor Phocas sent his famous general Bonosus to put down the uprising, who set about his business with such enthusiasm that the whole of the Jewish population was wiped out. Thousands of Jews perished by the sword, while hundreds of them were drowned or burned alive or thrown to the wild beasts. This was repeated again and again between the Jews and the Christians. Al-Makrizi says in his book of plans, that is Al-Kitab, during the reign of the Byzantine Emperor Phocas, Chosroes, the Shah of Persia, dispatches his armies to Syria and Egypt. They destroyed the churches of Jerusalem, Palestine, and the rest of the Syrian land. They whipped out all the Christians and pursued them to Egypt, where they slaughtered them in large numbers and enslaved an unimaginable number. The Jews helped them in fighting the Christians and destroying their churches. They poured from all directions to help the Persians and came from Tiberia, the Mount of Galilee, Nazareth village, and the city of Tyre, and all around Jerusalem. They committed all sorts of atrocities against the Christians, organized ghastly massacres, destroyed 2 Christian churches in Jerusalem, burned their places, stole a piece of the pillar of the cross, and captured the Patriarch of Jerusalem and agreed many of his friends and companions. Al-Makrizi goes on to relate the Persian conquest of Egypt. Then he writes, at that time the Jews in the city of Tyre rebelled and sent messengers from among themselves to other cities and towns, and all agreed to lay a trap for the Christians and kill them. A war broke out between the Jews and the Christians, in which the number of Jews were around 20,000. They destroyed the Christian churches around Tyre, but the Christians surrounded them and raised much greater numbers, so the Jews suffered a ghastly defeat, and a great number of them were killed. At the time Heraclius ascended to power in Constantinople, he defeated the Persians by setting a trap for the Shah, who left him eventually and went away. Then he marched from Constantinople to re-establish his authority over Syria and Egypt, and to renew what the Persians had destroyed. The Jews from Tiberia and other places went out to meet him. They presented him with precious gifts and begged him to guarantee their security and to take an oath to this effect. He granted their request. He went on to Jerusalem, where he was received by the Christian population holding up their Bibles, crosses, and incense, and burning candles. He was very much displeased at seeing the city and its churches destroyed. He expressed his sorrow to the local Christian, who told him about the uprising by the Jews and their siding with the Persians, the massacre of the Christians, and the destruction of their churches. They told Heraclius to level a blow to the Jews, but he protested that he had already guaranteed their security and had taken an oath to that effect. Their monks cardinals and priests gave the judgment that the killing of the Jews was justifiable on the ground that they had played a trick in order to win the assurance from him before he knew what they had done. The clergy had pledged to atone for Heraclius' oath by committing themselves and all Christians to fast a certain Friday every year for the rest of the time. Thus, he leaned to the argument and wreaked such a savage vengeance upon the Jews that in the Byzantine province of Syria and Egypt, those alone could save themselves who could take to fight or go into hiding. This report gave us an idea about the degree of savagery the two parties, the Christian and the Jews, had reached. They are watching for a chance to strike against the enemy, and they are heeding no rules in all that. Then divisions and differences broke out among the Christians themselves in spite of the fact that their book is one and their messenger is one. They were divided first in matters of faith. Then they split up into hostile and warring sects. The differences were concerned with the nature of Jesus and whether he had a divine or a human nature, and with the nature of Mary, his mother, and also with the nature of the Trinity, which constitutes God as they claim. The Quran relates 2 or 3 of their sayings on these issues. They are surely disbelievers who say Allah is the Messiah, son of Mary. They are surely disbelievers who say Allah is one of the Trinity. And Allah said, Jesus, son of Mary, did you ever say to people, worship me and my mother as gods beside Allah? The most violent of doctrinal divisions was that which erupted between the Byzantine state and the Christians of Syria and the Christians of Egypt, or in a more accurate definition, the Malachites and the Monophysites. The main dispute was over the alleged combination of the divine and the human natures in Jesus. The Malachite Christian of Syria held that he was both divine and human, while the Monophysites of Egypt insisted upon his being truly divine, the human part of his nature having lost itself in the divine as a drop of vinegar loses its identity in the ocean. The dispute between the two parties became much stronger in the 6th and 7th centuries, so that it looked as if it was a ceaseless war between two rival religions, or a dispute between Jews and Christians. Every group kept saying to the other that its stand was without foundation. Emperor Heraclius, 610 to 641, tried after his victory over the Persians in 638 AD to reconcile the contending creeds in his state and to reunite them by compromise. This compromise takes the shape of a general ban on indulging in any argument on the nature of Jesus Christ, the Messiah, and whether he had a single or dual nature. But everyone had to accept the doctrine of a single energy in Christ. Agreement on this was established at the beginning of 631 AD, and thus the Monothelian Creed was declared the official creed of the state. Monothelian Creed was declared the official creed of the state and all those of its population who belonged to the Christian church. Heraclius was determined to give the new creed overall supremacy, and he utilized all means for this end. But the Copts disputed his authority and declared their total rejection of this innovation and deviation. They took the opposing stand and sacrificed their all for the old faith. The emperor tried once again to unite all the creeds and settle the differences. He was content that people should accept that there is a single will for Christ. As for the other issue, namely the realization of that while by action he deferred taking a stand on it altogether. He also banned all people from indulging in arguments and debates on these issues. He included all that in an official message which he delivered to all parts of the Eastern world. But the message failed to end the storm. Instead, brutal persecution was administered by the emperor in Egypt for 10 years, which witnessed what would send a shiver of terror into any mortal being. Men were tortured savagely before being put to death by drowning. Big torches were lit and directed to the miserable prisoners until the fat ran from both sides of their bodies to the floor. Prisoners were put in sacks, which were then filled in with sand and thrown into the sea. These and other ghastly brutalities were committed. All these disputes among the people of earlier revelations took place after the clear proof had been given to them. They were not lacking in knowledge and proof, but they were blindly driven by their desires into deviation. Yet, religion is clear in its original form and the faith is simple in its essence. Yet, they are offered nothing more than to serve Allah, to worship Him alone with sincerity and with purity of faith, to attend to their prayers and to pay the purifying alms. That is surely the faith of the upright nation. This is the basis of the divine religion throughout the ages and in all its form. It is simply the worship of Allah alone, sincere and pure submission to Him, detachment from polytheism and polytheists, the establishment of regular worship and payment of the prescribed alms. That is surely the faith of the upright nation. It is a pure and sincere faith in the heart, worship of the divine being, which is a translation of the faith of this faith, and spending money for the cause of Allah, as he had stated. He who fulfills this injunction has met the requirement of faith, as the people of the earlier revelations were commanded to do, and as these requirements are outlined in all the forms of the divine religion. It is one religion, the same faith in all the successive messages, and as preached by the successive messenger of Allah. It is a religion free from all ambiguity and complication, a faith which gives no reason for division and dispute. It is very clear and very simple. How completely different this religion is from those complicated and confusing concepts and from those lengthy polemics. Since clear proof had been given to them formerly in their own religions through their own prophets, and since clear proof had been given to them again, full of life in the forms of messenger from Allah, reciting purified pages and offering them a clear and simple faith, then the true path becomes very clear. So does the destiny of the disbelievers and that of the believers. Those who disbelieve among the people of the earlier revelations and the polytheists shall burn forever in the fire of hell. They are the worst of all creatures. But those who believe and do righteous deeds are the best of all creatures. Their Lord will reward them with the Garden of Edens, under which rivers flow, where they shall dwell forever. Allah is well pleased with them, and they with Him. This is the reward of the God-fearing. Muhammad, peace be on him, was the last messenger, and Islam, which he preached, the last message. Messengers from Allah came successively every time corruption spread in the world. The objective was to make mankind return to righteousness. Those who deviated from the right path had one chance after another to correct their behavior, but now that Allah had willed to close His message to us by this final, comprehensive, perfect, and accomplished message, then the last chance has been given. It is either the adoption of faith and salvation or the denial of faith and destruction. For this belief now is an established evidence of unlimited evil, while accepting the faith is proof of goodness which goes to its absolute end. Those who disbelieve among the people of the earlier revelations and the polities shall burn forever in the fire of hell. They are the words of all creatures. It is a clear and absolute verdict which gives no room for argument or dispute. It is applicable even if some of their actions, values, or system were good, since these are not based on believing in the final message and the final messenger. No appearance of goodness will make us entertain even the slightest doubt in this judgment, since this apparent goodness is detached from the upright method of living laid down by Allah. Those who believe and do righteous deeds are the best of all creatures. This is also an absolute verdict that makes for no dispute or argument. Its condition is also clear, free from any ambiguity or deception. The condition is faith, not merely being born in a land which claims to be Islamic or in a family which claims to belong to Islam. Neither is it a few words which one repeats again and again. It is the acceptance of faith which establishes its effect on the actual life. And do righteous deeds. It is entirely different from the words that go no further than the lips. As for the righteous deeds, these are everything Allah has commanded to be done in matters of worship, behavior, action, and day-to-day dealings. The first and the most important of these righteous deeds is the establishment of Allah's laws on this planet and the government of people according to what Allah has legislated. Those who act accordingly are the best creatures of all. Their Lord will reward them with the gardens of Eden under which rivers flow, where they shall dwell forever. These gardens are a specially prepared, permanent and happy dwelling. The happiness is symbolized here by security against death and by the prevalent feeling of contentment as against the feeling of anxiety which mar and disrupt all earthly comforts. It is also symbolized by the rivers flowing underneath these gardens, a picture which adds a sense of ease, life and beauty. The Surah then adds some reflective touches to the picture it portrays of their perpetual happiness. Allah is well pleased with them and they with Him. This pleasure of Allah with them is much more exalted and far more enjoyable than any happiness. Moreover, in their inmost souls, they feel their pleasures with their Lord. They are well pleased with the destiny He has set for them, delighted with the grace He has granted them, enchanted with this relationship with their Lord. It is a pleasure which fills the heart and soul with security and contentment, as well as delight and happiness, deep and pure. It is an expression which suggests unique connotation. Allah is well pleased with them and they with Him. This is the reward of the God-fearing. This is the final assertion. It stresses that all that had been said is dependent on the nature of the relationship between man's heart and Allah. It also depends on man's having a feeling of Allah which urges him to all sorts of good deeds and militates against all sorts of deviations. It is a feeling which removes the barriers, lifts the curtains, and makes man's heart stand bare before Allah, the One, the All-Powerful. It is a feeling which helps make worship and the submission to Allah pure and purges human action from all elements of hypocrisy and polytheism in all forms. So, he who truly fears his Lord cannot allow his heart to entertain the slightest shred of influence by any being other than Allah, the creator of all beings. Such a man knows that Allah rejects any deeds by which the doer seeks any being besides Allah, for Allah is in no need of partners. Every action must be pure for him, or else he rejects it. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim.